Alright, lobbies and gentlegrams, in today's episode of Druski in Diddy Land, we gotta touch on some very serious stuff and some absolute absurdities as well, because Druski has just found himself roped into the Diddy files, but it's not what you think. Obviously, these are extremely sensitive and serious allegations. Obviously, Diddy is locked up for horrible, awful crimes against humanity. However, at some point, things get taken a little bit too far and you get lawsuits like this, which, again, if true, are absolutely horrible, but given the details within this file, which we will break down, and given the fact that the accuser claims these crimes were committed in 2018 before Druski had any ties to any industry higher-ups, any public figures, it was very unlikely that Diddy even knew Druski's names back in 2018, which is when the accuser is claiming these events took place in. And Druski is adamantly denying all of these accusations. So we will break down the entire case, everything Druski is accused of, how he's roped into this insane situation, his entire defense against these allegations, and we'll give some backstory on how he is actually connected to Diddy, because there are some connections.
Don't mind if I do. I wouldn't, shot.
So, as you guys know, Diddy has spent the last couple of months sitting in a federal prison cell. He has actually been sharing the cell with the crypto giant Sam Bankman-Fried, who recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson saying that, as far as he knows, Diddy seems like a good guy. And allegedly, 6ix9ine was actually in this prison cell as well for a short period of time, because it seems to be a unit for high-profile individuals.
6ix9ine, Diddy, and Sam Bankman-Fried were like all kicking it. Like, there's so much more I can say, but I'll leave it at that. All just kicking it, MDC.
Now, Diddy is obviously facing some serious, disgusting federal charges, ranging from racketeering, conspiracy, trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These allegations stretch back all the way to 2008 and could land him in prison for life if he is convicted of all these crimes. His trial is set for May 5th, 2025. And to understand why we're at where we're at now, where Druski is getting roped in to these legal filings, we got to kind of take it back a couple of years. So this whole thing started on November 16th, 2023, when Cassie Ventura, who is a singer formerly signed to Bad Boy Records, but also Diddy's ex-girlfriend, she filed a civil lawsuit that completely shook the entire music industry. She had been with Diddy for over a decade, beginning when she was 19 and he was 37. Now, her claims were extremely serious and disgusting, accusing Diddy of assaulting her, physically abusing her, and forcing her into trafficking, describing a controlling relationship marked by mistreatment. Multiple horrible instances plastered all throughout this lawsuit, including a 2018 claim where Cassie said she was assaulted after trying to leave Diddy. And ultimately, just a day after these insane allegations were made public, the civil lawsuit was actually settled within less than 24 hours of being filed. The terms of the settlement were kept confidential, but it ultimately sparked a chain reaction because just a few months later in May of 2024, CNN had released 2016 surveillance footage of a hotel showing Diddy attacking Cassie in the hallway of that hotel. That video didn't just support her story, it amplified it, encouraging other potential victims to come forward. And beyond the onslaught of civil lawsuits that Diddy began to receive, Cassie's lawsuit didn't simply spark a chain of new victims coming forward with their own civil cases. Her case actually never ended up staying in civil court. Even though it was settled, it caught the eye of federal authorities, and things moved pretty quickly. By March of 2024, they raided Diddy's home in Los Angeles and Miami, seizing firearms, ammunition, and over 1,000 bottles of lubricant, items they allege were linked to drug-fueled events called F-offs. 6 months later, on September 16th, 2024, obviously, Diddy ended up getting arrested. He was arrested on charges that claimed he ran a criminal enterprise built on coercion and exploitation, with Cassie's allegations as a cornerstone. What began as one lawsuit had escalated into a federal case, and Diddy's empire began unraveling. Cassie's stand didn't just trigger a criminal investigation. It opened the floodgates for countless civil lawsuits. Over 100 people stepped forward alleging everything from assaults at Diddy's famous white parties to the abuse of children as young as 9. Houston lawyer Tony Busby took the lead, representing 120 accusers and filing cases in states like New York, California, and Florida. To find more victims, he set up a hotline in October of 2024, which got over 12,000 calls in its first day alone. Some claims date back all the way to 1991, suggesting a decades-long pattern of alleged wrongdoing. Busby had called it unprecedented and hinted that other prominent figures might be involved. And shortly after that, we saw the next public figure get roped into these Diddy lawsuits, and that would be Jay-Z. In December of 2024, the attorney who set up the hotline for Diddy's victims to come forward, Tony Busby, had filed a civil lawsuit on behalf of a woman identified as Jane Doe, alleging that Jay-Z and Diddy had both assaulted her at a 2000 MTV Video Music Awards after party when she was just 13 years old. Jay-Z right away had denied the allegations, describing them as a baseless blackmail attempt. He filed motions requesting that Doe reveal her identity and initiated a lawsuit against Busby, accusing him of extortion and defamation. Jay-Z's legal team highlighted inconsistencies in Jane Doe's account, such as claims involving individuals not present at the event, undermining her credibility. In February of 2025, Jane Doe voluntarily dismissed her lawsuit with prejudice, preventing future refiling, and Jay-Z had declared this outcome as a victory, emphasizing the emotional toll the false allegations had taken on his family. Following the dismissal, Jay-Z actually pursued defamation lawsuits against both Jane Doe and Tony Busby, asserting that the false allegations had caused significant harm to his reputation and business interests, resulting in a reported $20 million financial loss. Tony Busby denied any wrongdoing, maintaining that his client's claims were legitimate and that they would not be intimidated by Jay-Z's legal actions. The legal battle between Jay-Z and Tony Busby continued, with both parties sticking to their positions, with Tony Busby emphasizing the truth behind his client's claims and Jay-Z emphasizing the attempted shakedown that Busby was targeting him with. And aside from Jay-Z being added as a defendant to this specific case, while Diddy awaits trial, he's been faced with a multitude of various civil lawsuits made against him, with some of them including the December 12, 2024 filing from 3 men who alleged that Diddy assaulted them and then offered one of the 3 men $2,500 after the assault was filmed. Just a week later, 2 women came forward with lawsuits of their own, stating that they were given illegal substances and assaulted during separate instances in 1991 and 2006. In 2025 alone, Diddy has already faced a multitude of brand new lawsuits, 3 of them coming from Jane Doe's, all alleging assault in the 1990s. One man accused Diddy of assault back in 2012 when he was underage. A musician claimed that Diddy assaulted him in 2022. Another Jane Doe coming forward from an incident in 1999. And the list goes forward. So much so that at the beginning of 2025, Diddy clapped back with legal action of his own, filing a $50 million defamation suit against accuser Courtney Burgess, lawyer Ariel Mitchell, and News Nation. Courtney Burgess, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, describes himself as a music industry veteran who has publicly made claims about Diddy's estranged ex-wife, Kim Porter, the mother of 4 of Diddy's children, and he claims that Kim Porter had gave him illicit tapes of Diddy as well as a copy of her memoir. Courtney had described Diddy as Lucifer, claiming that his ex-wife Kim Porter had given him pictures of Justin Bieber kissing an unidentified male, allegedly. And again, Diddy clapped back with a lawsuit of his own, claiming that Courtney had peddled false narratives about Kim Porter's memoirs and published them on Amazon, with Diddy's lawyer claiming Courtney's allegations are outrageous lies used to defame Diddy, which could potentially negatively influence his upcoming trial, and stating, quote-unquote, that Sean Diddy Combs is taking a stand against the malicious falsehoods that have been fabricated and amplified by individuals seeking to profit at his expense. These defendants have willfully fabricated and disseminated outrageous lies with reckless disregard for the truth. Their falsehoods have poisoned public perception and contaminated the jury pool. This complaint should serve as a warning that such intentional falsehoods, which undermine Diddy's right to a fair trial, will no longer be tolerated. But it looks like even with Diddy's legal team fighting back, filing their own defamation cases against these lawsuits, the the lawsuits continued to pile in, and massive public figures continued to be attached to them. That leads us to today, or should I say March 7th, 2025, when Ashley Parham filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court, alleging that in March of 2018, she was provided illegal substances, captured and assaulted by Diddy, comedian Druski, and NFL star Odell Beckham Jr. in a private residence in California. Now, we'll break the entire lawsuit down, as well as statements made by Druski defending his innocence, and understand how he was roped into the case in the first place. So, there were 3 plaintiffs involved in this lawsuit. One of them being Ashley Parham, who's a California woman who says she was tricked into going to a house where Diddy and his crew, including Druski and Odell Beckham Jr., had attacked her. There's also Jane Doe and John Doe, a mom and son from Nevada, who claim they were snatched and brought to California, where they saw Ashley get hurt and attacked as well. John Doe says he was a victim of Michael Jackson as a kid. And as far as the defendants, you got a long list ranging from Druski, Diddy, Odell Beckham Jr., Jaguar Wright, Shane Pierce, Brandy Cunningham, and many others, including one Jane Doe and one John Doe. The plaintiffs claim that Diddy ran a secret operation called the Diddy S Abuse and Cover-Up Enterprise that used his music industry power to assault people, trap them, and move them around illegally for cash and personal kicks. They're using a law called RICO, usually for nailing gangsters, to say that this was an organized crew. Ashley, the main victim, began her story in February of 2018 when she meets Shane Pierce at a bar. Shane FaceTimes Diddy to impress her, and Ashley says she's not impressed, hinting that Diddy might have been involved in taking Tupac's life. Diddy hears it and says that she'll quote-unquote pay. On March 23, 2018, Shane invites Ashley to his California apartment, claiming he needs help with cancer meds. She goes, but it's a trap. Diddy shows up with a crew, including Druski and Odell Beckham Jr. He threatens Ashley with a knife to her face, saying he'll cut her for her Tupac comment. The defendant KK stops him, suggesting they could profit off of Ashley instead. So they pour oil on her and try to insert something with a syringe, but it fails. Then the assault begins, and Druski and Odell get directly involved. And this is where the allegations are most definitely horrible, but also worded in the most deranged way possible, which makes you think the wording and description is almost too absurd for this to even be quoted in real legal filing. So the lawsuit states that Druski assaulted Ashley after others started. First, he pours more oil on her and uses her body like a quote-unquote slip and slide, and the exact quote is, instead of immediately assaulting plaintiff, defendant Druski doused plaintiff with more oil and lubricant and jumped on top of plaintiff's oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his enormous size, essentially calling him fat. Then in the lawsuit, they claim Druski attacks her directly, saying defendant Druski then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed, and then began assaulting plaintiff. Diddy watched and recorded, with the lawsuit stating, while defendant Druski was assaulting plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began pleasuring himself while recording plaintiff's assault by defendant Druski. Later, Jane and John Doe had allegedly witnessed it itself, with the lawsuit stating, plaintiff John Doe witnessed defendant Druski douse plaintiff Parham in baby oil and then jumped and slid across her body. Plaintiff John Doe observed defendants Diddy and Druski manically and hysterically laughing, which plaintiff attributed to their illegal substance use. Defendant Diddy then attempted to force plaintiff John Doe to also assault plaintiff Parham, and he refused. When John says no, the group, including Druski, beats him up. Odell Beckham Jr. joins in later, identified as Cornelius at first. Ashley says he assaulted her too, with the lawsuit stating, at some point during this ordeal, plaintiff remembers defendants referring to another defendant Doe as Cornelius. Plaintiff has come to discover the defendant Doe Cornelius who assaulted her was defendant Odell. Plaintiff John Doe took immediate notice of defendant Odell because when he took his clothes off, plaintiff remembers defendant being in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of defendant Diddy and Druski. Let me read that one more time. In simple terms, one of the victims, John Doe, took immediate notice of Odell Beckham Jr., meaning he recognized him, because when Odell took his clothes off, John Doe realizes Odell is in great shape, specifically when comparing his naked body to the naked body of both Diddy and Druski. I'm not saying the story was fabricated. I'm not saying this is, true or false, but to say Druski used a human body as a slip and slide and that he crushed her due to his incredibly large weight and that Odell Beckham Jr. was in great shape compared to how big and fat Diddy and Druski were. It's some of the strangest language I've ever heard within a legal document. Then the lawsuit continues saying plaintiff John Doe overheard Diddy and Odell discussing business and the plan to have plaintiff Parham return to New York with defendant Odell Beckham Jr. This suggests Odell was in on moving her somewhere else. The lawsuit then claims that they keep Ashley Parham trapped by hiding her clothes, phone, purse, and keys. Diddy offers her money to say it was consensual, but she refuses. They threaten her family with a video of her sister's house. She grabs a knife, grazes Diddy's stomach fighting back, and escapes. A fake cop shows up, does nothing, and real police don't help much either. Then the mother and son plaintiffs Jane and John Doe get grabbed in Las Vegas by John Pelletier. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. He pretends to be a cop, forces them into an SUV, claiming fake warrants. They're driven to California through quote-unquote safe houses. They're given water laced with illegal substances and end up at Shane's house in California, the same spot as Ashley Parham's attack. And here's where Jaguar Wright steps in alongside Druski and Odell, with the lawsuit saying plaintiffs were then transported to the location of plaintiff Parham's brutal assault on Loma Vista Drive by defendants Jaguar Wright and Helena. Defendant Helena was the driver and defendant Jaguar was the passenger. Jaguar threatens them with the lawsuit stating, defendant Helena warned plaintiffs if they tried to escape or run that she would have to hit with a firearm, and Jaguar's there enforcing it. Jaguar discussed with defendant Helena how the parties involved started the first black-owned network. The plaintiffs believe this to be Revolt TV, which was owned by Diddy. The lawsuit continues saying, Jaguar Wright attempted to protect Odell Beckham Jr. and Druski, stating, when defendant Jaguar Wright said Cornelius, it upset defendant Helena, who said that defendants Odell and Druski were her clients and nothing better happened to them, and plaintiffs better not say anything about them, or she would have plaintiffs' lives ended. Once Jane and John Doe arrived to Shane's house in California, Druski is there with the lawsuit stating, shortly after, defendant Druski appeared wearing a vest and shorts, and he engaged in conversation with plaintiffs. He tells them to cooperate. Plaintiffs observed defendant Druski douse plaintiff Parham in baby oil and then jumped and slid across her body. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to throw plaintiff John Doe into the wall several times in order to get him to comply with his demand to assault plaintiff Parham, which he would not comply. Druski's in the crew doing this as well. So the specific accusations that Druski is accused of and being sued for are assault and battery for physically attacking Ashley with oil and his body, with the lawsuit stating defendants Diddy, Shane, Odell, and Druski's battery on plaintiff caused physical injury. He's also being sued for harassment for making unwanted advances on Ashley Parham. He's also involved in RICO conspiracy for knowing about and joining Diddy's crime ring, trafficking for helping Diddy's group trap and assault people for profit and got cash perks from it, and for cover-up, not stopping the attacks and helping to hide them. They're suing for money for pain, emotional damage, medical costs, and wrecked lives. They also want any profits like Shane's car or Jaguar's cash taken away. And why they're suing now is allegedly because Ashley Parham was too scared to talk in 2018. Cops didn't believe her and her family was threatened. Jane and John Doe hid too, but Diddy's jail time and a new California law letting old assault cases be filed gave them a push to sue. So all in all, Druski's name is mentioned in this lawsuit 45 different times. I'll go back and read some direct quotes where Druski is mentioned again. On page 17, stating, instead of immediately assaulting plaintiff, defendant Druski doused plaintiff with more oil/lubricant, then jumped on top of plaintiff's body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his enormous size. Defendant Druski then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed. He then began assaulting plaintiff. When he was assaulting plaintiff, Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began pleasuring himself while recording plaintiff and Druski's interaction. Another party's phone fell on the bed near plaintiff. Plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil/lubricant that had been doused all over her by defendants Diddy and Druski. Then Diddy, Shane, KK, Odell Beckham Jr., and Druski exited the residence to the backyard, where they consumed marijuana and cigarettes. And the most insane quote to come out of this lawsuit being, Plaintiff John Doe took immediate notice of defendant Odell Beckham Jr. because when he took his clothes off, plaintiff remembers defendant being in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of defendants Diddy and Druski. Now again, I'm definitely not here to say, this story is fabricated by any means. I don't want to downplay the severity of these accusations or, any potential victim. I'm also not here to say, Druski is innocent or guilty. Of course, he's innocent until proven guilty, and I guess this lawsuit will have its day in court. All I'm here to say is the language used in this case is absolute absurdity. Even to address Druski by his stage name instead of his government name throughout the lawsuit is a little bit strange. There's a lot of strange elements to this lawsuit, to say the very least. So let's break all of them down. Firstly, Druski immediately came out to deny the claims, saying, "This allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke living with my mom without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation. So the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish. My heart breaks for actual victims of abuse, but I'm fully confident that the evidence will expose this falsehood and the individuals who are maliciously trying to game the legal system to peddle false narratives." And just to give you guys a little bit of context on where Druski could have potentially been at in 2018, Druski actually began posting comedic skits and content on Instagram in October of 2017, but only truly became the Druski that we know today in 2020 when he connected with Jack Harlow and began opening and hosting shows for him. It was only around this time that we began seeing Druski publicly connected to big industry players. He made appearances in Jack Harlow's music video for Tyler Herro. He made appearances in Lil Yachty's music video for Oprah's Bank Account. And by August of 2020, he made an appearance in Drake's music video for Laugh Now, Cry Later. He was connected to Diddy through Diddy's network Revolt, which Diddy now no longer is involved with. But back in 2021, I believe he was still the CEO, and Druski had his own series on the network called Sneaking In with Druski. Druski also does have connections to Odell Beckham Jr., but only throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, when Odell discovered Druski's videos during that time and invited him to stay at his home during the pandemic in 2020 or 2021. So again, while Druski definitely did have some sort of connection to Diddy and Odell Beckham Jr., it was only in 2020, long after the alleged instances in this lawsuit took place. People are pointing to the fact that Druski had weird reactions when asked if he attended Diddy parties, like here.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. I've been in attendance. Not, hey, what the f*** you smirking for?
How you saying that?
I've been in attendance.
He just asking regular
That's all
questions.
I said. That's all I said. I said I've been in attendance. I have been in attendance.
We never been. We just asked him.
As soon as you asked, he said,
You had fun?
I ain't seen that.
yeah, you did. Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, I mean, it was a party. I wasn't at one of them parties.
Or here.
What were the freak-offs like?
I never have been to a freak-off. I don't think. But I think a lot of people saying, like, oh, I left before. A lot of that's bullshit.
Oh, yeah,
everybody's like, oh, I left before. That's bull.
A lot of hands up.
I was friends with his sons. Anytime I would be like around there, like even how like the commercial I did with Delion or whatever, that transpired from like being around his sons.
Really?
Like, we would go to like different places in LA. It was like me, his sons, Odell, whoever.
But you have to remember again, this was after Diddy was convicted on all these charges, after the quote-unquote Diddy parties became this massive dark subject within the industry. And so obviously it was a touchy, taboo subject. And with Druski being a comedian, obviously he's going to give somewhat of an awkward answer when asked about such a controversial subject. I mean, you could tell he took the comedic approach, especially when Kai Cenat had told him that he was actually neighbors with Diddy.
I'm not, but guess how far was my neighbor?
Who?
Diddy.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Let's just come on, man. Let's just
let's
just go.
Hey, let's go on the restaurant.
Let's just go. Jesus Christ. I mean, come on. Let's just go, man. I mean, what the? All right. Let's just go. Okay. Everybody up. Come on, man. Let's just go right now. Let's keep the tour going. Keep the tour going.
There was also this old skit that Druski had published, which people are saying hasn't aged well, but I think they're failing to recognize the satire within it, as Druski is making fun of these type of men, not actually saying he embodies this type of mindset. This skit is taken out of context given the lawsuit that was recently published.
Hey! Let's go. Silent Club! kiss the dude.
That's all right.
Hey, take a shot. Take a shot. That baby ass shot, bro. You ain't even pouring a real shot. Keep going. That's a regular shot. I got the same amount of mine. Hey, look. Hey, truth and dare. I didn't take 5 shots on her stomach. Come on.
And ultimately, this is where we're at right now. Definitely some strange times we're living in. Definitely some of the strangest descriptions of allegations that I've ever heard in a lawsuit. The timelines most definitely don't add up, but we want to give everybody their fair day in court and take allegations like this seriously. So let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.